what are the indicators of which way this election is going? First of all, it is a very sensitive state of seats to swings. A small swing of 3% against the DMK and they could lose this election. It's that sensitive. What are the other indicators? One of them are by-elections. Just look at how well the DMK has been doing in by-elections. There have been 3 by-elections and the swing to the DMK in those has been plus 14%, and the swing against the AIADMK in these 3 by-elections has been minus 10%. That would be a bit of a worrying indicator for the AIADMK. Other worrying factor for the AIADMK is the local body elections. The DMK literally swept the local body elections way back in 2022. They got almost 5 times higher in the municipal corporation, 3 to 4 times higher in the municipality, and in the town panchayats, nearly 3 times higher than the AIADMK, BJP combined. So that's another sign that the DMK would be pleased with and the AIADMK may be worried with. But it was 4 years ago, so things do change in 4 years. Finally, what about the indicators of the recent Lok Sabha elections? Just have a look at that. The AIADMK actually declined sharply and the BJP rises sharply. But first the DMK, it went up from 45 to around 47. The AIADMK dropped from 33 down to 23. That's a drop of 10% between the Assembly and the Lok Sabha elections in 2024. The BJP went up from 2.6 to 11.3. That's a huge improvement. And the PMK remained more or less constant around 4%. Again, slightly positive news for the DMK and the BJP, both doing reasonably well even in the Lok Sabha election.
The behavioral science of Tamil Nadu voters is different when it comes to Lok Sabha and when it comes to Assembly. So the Assembly narrative and the underlying current with respect to the rulers will get to know only a couple of months prior to the elections. We were very clear from the beginning, it is between the Dravidian majors, AIADMK versus DMK. But since the newcomer has to position himself, he has to challenge the ruler. So TVK, Mr. Vijay started positioning himself as the alternate to DMK, wherein DMK believed that that could help them to take away the anti-incumbency vote to their favor, so that we will not win. But the political climate and dynamics changed really faster. Now it is between the Dravidian majors. That's what the ground reality is.
Finally, what are the opinion polls saying? Here they are. This is a poll of polls taking several opinion polls together. Remember, the majority is 118. The poll of polls is saying the DMK alliance will get 143. That's quite substantially higher than the halfway mark. The AIADMK with BJP will get 82, the TVK, which is Vijay's party, will get 8 and others 1. So 143, 82, 8 and 1, showing a clear victory for the DMK. But how accurate are polls in Tamil Nadu? Actually, they are very accurate. Accuracy rate over the years, 90%. That's probably because respondents in surveys in Tamil Nadu tell you the truth. 90% is a very good strike rate, right?
Very good, excellent strike rate. Bengal also is about the same, I think.
Oh, Bengal's all honest.
Don't laugh. Can I say something? What you said about those local elections, it gives you infrastructure to fight the other elections. If you run in local areas, this just gives you more clout locally. So when the assembly elections come, you are better equipped, relatively.
In between, the things seem to be swinging towards the DMK, but now comes Vijay. But the polls say he's not doing well, but new phenomenon polls are often not very accurate. So do you get that sense that it's swinging towards the DMK overall?
So the initial phase of this campaign, actually the AIADMK was not being heard at all. You didn't hear them in the narrative at all. They were almost like not in the election. It was seeming like it is a TVK versus a DMK battle. What you mentioned about a 3% swing can actually put DMK in trouble. The DMK realizes that with Vijay coming, the margin in many of the seats could be very, very narrow, and that's one reason why the 26-party alliance, you want to take no chances, and therefore you're stitching in everyone together so that even those few thousand votes, even if a DMDK brings you only about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 votes in a particular constituency, it could be decisive, and that's the reason why the DMK has stitched such a huge alliance together of 26 parties.
Right. So who's winning?
So one
simple question.
One interesting thing about Vijay, which I read somewhere, was that when his father went to admit him into school, he did not put down any caste or religion and simply said that he was a Tamilian. So that's why Vijay never, even in his films, he was always Vijay and wasn't Joseph Vijay, which he has become now after he started his campaign. But interestingly, also when he announced the fact that he was going to go solo in this election, the announcement was made at an iftar party. So Vijay is somebody who has, in a sense, no religion, no caste, no ideology, no grassroots organization, yet he is the X factor in this election.
Right, right.
In
Amazing.
fact, they
actually.
tried to use it as a campaign. They started saying, see, this guy is Joseph Vijay, but it backfired. Whatever they have done, try to use against Vijay in terms of some incidents in his personal life, all of that seemed to backfire, and that's one reason both the parties largely avoid his mention. They still act as though, like we spoke to Kanimuri, and she said, this is not a three-cornered contest, we still see it as a two-cornered contest.
Right. So who's winning, Dorab? You know, or you want to say publicly?
No, not public.
Oh, sure.
But the polls are normally right, as you were saying. So it looks like it. You know, I think the fire has gone out of, once Jayalalitha went, I think the fire has gone out of the AIADMK, and they've not been able to replace a leader with the same charisma. You know, don't forget that the AIADMK has been living on charisma of 40 to 50 years. First
MJR, then Jayalalitha.
So they're a charisma-based party. This is a stolid Tamil-dominated party, the DMK. So they have no superstars, virtually none. So that could.
Okay, so just to summarize, you can see it's a pretty complicated. Here's one graphic of the key issues. First, anti-incumbency. That goes against the DMK. Second, women's safety being a perceived issue, although in reality, the figures show that this is a very safe state for women. But how important will that be in this election? And that could go against the DMK. The rise of regional parties is key, and that could be a mistake which the AIADMK has made by tying up with the BJP. National parties are declining and regional parties are rising. Then, of course, is this amazing new factor, Vijay, the superstar. Huge crowds, will it convert into votes and will it eat into the anti-incumbency vote? That could help the DMK a lot. The pointers, by-elections, local body elections, and the polls tend to show the DMK. And finally, of course, delimitation has emerged as an important factor in the last stage of this election. So, Dorab, it's 50-50. Anything could happen. Is that what you're saying?
All depends. We'll find out.
All depends. Thank you very much for watching. It is a complex story, and I hope we kind of clarified some of the issues. See you again soon. Thanks for watching Countdown.